TMX!
Adam White here from Running Central with Kirk Wessler in the Journal-Star, and continuing our series talking track and field in anticipation of the upcoming Honor Roll Meet. And we're out here at the old Farmington track. And there is an amazing story, history on this track, great community effort that brought this track to be, and some outstanding performances. Kirk, tell us a little bit about this piece of history that we're standing on right now and why it's so valuable.
Well, I want to say thanks to Dave Giannone, who is on the games committee for the Honor Roll Meet and was a long-time track and field coach at Farmington High School and is a vast warehouse of information. David was saying that this track had actually existed for decades. But it was a cinder track and so forth. So when it came time, you got into the 90s and people were going to all-weather tracks, and Farmington had a nice program, and Dave wanted as good a facilities as he could get. So he got with people in the community, and through a great effort, and it's just a wonderful example of what can happen when a community pulls together. They ran fundraisers, they asked for donations. All of the money came from private donations, from businesses, individuals, and so forth. There were local farmers who donated equipment. There were local mining company operators who donated heavy-duty equipment to move things like bleachers and to erect structures out here. And then the other workers who came out to volunteer their time to do all the work that was necessary to turn this into a really nice track and field facility. And because Dave was obviously a track and field guy, he knew exactly what he wanted, and so it was done first rate. I mean, you go back 25 years, these are wide lanes.
Wide corners.
Wide corners, what they call gentle curves, which really helps the speed events where you're running sprints on a curve, particularly the 200 and the 400, because the curve is not as sharp. So you get more of a natural gait, and the times increase because of that. It makes for a little bit shorter straightaways, but the curves are almost like secondary straightaways instead of being those hard U-turns that you would take otherwise. And so just a great effort by the entire community to put together what for quite a while was one of the best facilities in the area.
That's absolutely incredible. Communities pulling together around sport for kids. I mean, and it was. I remember the anticipation, because when this was getting done was right at the end of my time in high school. But I remember the buzz around central Illinois, greater Peoria, about what was happening here at Farmington. They already had a great tradition of high-end performances, and a couple of those performances, you want to tell us a little bit about some of the ones that stand out?
Well,
here?
there was one, and Dave was telling me back, and this was before this actual track was poured and set up with the redone field, but they in the field event, they had a discus thrower by the name of, I gotta check here what the note was, Scott Cray, K-R-E-Y. And this was back in the 70s. And Dave said he remembered at this meet there was this commotion around the discus. And he saw Scott running across with his arms pumping in the air, screaming and so forth. They went to check, and he had hit the fence at the outside of the discus area. So they looked, and back then they used a black rubber edge discus. And so it left a mark on the fence where it had hit. And Dave said he called Bob Levitt, who was the founder of the Honor Roll Meet, and said, "Hey, Bob, I've got this discus throw. He says, worthy of the Honor Roll Meet. It's a school record." And Bob goes, "How far?" And he goes, "We don't know because it hit the fence." So
we'll figure it out.
They figured it out, and they measured it using geometry and so forth. They measured to the spot where it hit the fence, and then they measured the height up the fence, and then added that to the actual distance and said, "Okay, that's good enough. That's what we'll call the throw."
That's
and
awesome.
There you go. So you've got that. After the track was built, they had a couple of tremendous athletes. One, probably the most accomplished, was Jake Paulai, who was a pole vaulter. He was also a pretty good sprinter. He medaled in the hurdles at state, and he was a good all-around athlete. And then went on to a career at University of Northern Iowa, where he was two-time Missouri Valley Conference champion. He was an All-American twice, NCAA Division I, and finished in the top 5 at the 2008 trials for the U.S. team in the Olympic Games.
Almost made the U.S. So
18 feet 8 in a pole vault.
That's tall. I'm scared of heights.
That's more than 3 of me.
Amazing, amazing stuff. So right here in Farmington, backyard, great community story, rich history here of track and field. Dave Giannone is, you know, as you said, you know,
iconic coach and figure, yeah.
Patriarch of track and field here in the Central Illinois area, and just so much for us to be grateful for that's taken place right here in our own backyard.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's always cool to see a community come together and help build a facility, regardless of what the sport it is. But, you know, with the love that we have for track and field, we're a little bit more passionate perhaps about this, but I think it's just terrific. And you look at it, these lanes are wide. Like I said, I mean, this was a nice facility 25 years ago.
Heck yeah.
One other story about this place too, in '96 when the Olympic Games were in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dave started thinking, well, you know what, I wonder what they do with the equipment from the games after it's done. And he checked into it and he found out, yeah, it's for sale. So they purchased, again with donations and stuff, they purchased the high jump pit pads and brought them here, and the kids that high jumped out here high jumped into the padding, into the pits that were used for the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta.
Right here in Farmington.
Right here in Farmington.
That is awesome. So another great reason why everyone should be looking at the past and knowing that the Journal Star Honor Roll Meet is such an integral part of this sport here in our area, and that common link that connects so many of us as track and field athletes here. Be tracking your times, your performances, your distances, your jumps, your throws, and making sure that you're on that list. Coaches, athletes, parents, be tracking those every week. Go online and make sure that your performance is being marked and you got an opportunity to compete in this great event.
Right, every week in the Journal Star newspaper on Sundays, and then every week posted on Saturday afternoons, the weekly Honor Roll on honorrollmeet.com.